What's going on, everybody? Chaseontwowheels here, and in front of me I have my own personal 2022 CF Moto 300SS. Now, this is the 1 month review, but it's more like a 1 year review because I've had this bike for over a year. The problem is I got so busy riding all the other bikes that I have to ride and review that I forgot to ride this thing, and because of that, the battery died. So I've really only put about a month of riding in on this bike, even though I've had it for a much longer period of time. So today, I'm going to do a 1 month review of this bike, tell you guys all the little things that I've realized about the bike now that I've put some miles on it. So this is more of an owner's review. If you guys want to see my first impressions video, I'll have the first drive of this bike linked in the description down below. This one is going to be a little bit longer term. And without further ado, guys, I think we should get into this. Now, for you guys that are not up to date on the channel, this is one of the 2 bikes we are giving away this season for WBR Garage. If you guys don't know what WBR Garage is, it's my website where I give motorcycles away. Been doing it for like 7 or 8 years now. It's a really good time. So, if you want to win this bike or our 450SS, which is this one's bigger brother, you can get entries as little as $5. Super cheap, and you get double entries for every entry because we got 2 bikes. So, you guys jump over there. It'll be top link in the description down below. Y'all check that out, and we'll get at this thing. Actually, you know what? Before we get going, you guys know how I like to break up my 1 month reviews. I basically like to do a pros list and then a cons list. And one of the pros of this motorcycle has got to be the looks. I'm going to get it cranked up before we get started because you have to appreciate the lighting on this thing to really appreciate the look. So we got LEDs. Check the front. Absolutely shockingly good looking. That's the side. Dude, this bike is just absolutely sick looking. You've even got the little ducts back here into the tail, and then check the tail section out. This bike is by far, at least in my opinion, the best low cc sport bike on the market right now, especially in that 300cc class. Did I just click it into second? Oh my god, that's hilarious. I guess my foot got caught on it. That's funny. Okay, guys, so yeah, looks is something we definitely had to hit off on the get-go. And before we get going, I do want to make a couple little notes because this bike is not exactly as it is if you guys go into a dealership and buy it. We've added the CF Moto aftermarket levers, the lever guards, as well as this darked out windscreen. So the bike is not exactly the same, but it's relatively similar. I think it's close enough to do this 1 month review without having really any issues. So without further ado, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to get going. Man, I picked a nasty day. I've been picking nasty days lately to go for rides. I don't know why. All right, guys, so the second pro that I want to hit on with the 300SS here is surprisingly the power plant. So take this into account. It's a 300cc bike, we know that, but it is a single cylinder engine, which means you're going to get a little more punchy power, which I personally love that for the 300cc style bikes because it gives you a more punch going. It gets you a little more excited, even though relatively on the power scale, you're kind of low. I've been very happy with this, the power this thing's putting down. It's got absolutely no problem going around traffic. Even getting on the highway, I have had absolutely no problems. And I really like this amount of power for somebody that was like me when I started riding. I had zero experience. Like, we're talking, I was riding a bicycle around so I could get used to balancing on 2 wheels. Like, that's how little of experience I had. And for people like that don't know how to use a clutch or a throttle, I think this is a very safe amount of power where you can still have a good time, but the chances of, I guess I should say the likelihood of you getting yourself into trouble is slightly lower. You can definitely still get in trouble on something like this. It's just a little lower than it otherwise would be. All right, guys, as we got some twisty roads coming up here, the next thing I want to talk about that I really like about this bike is the lightweightness of it. If you guys don't know, this bike is crazy light, and what that does is allow you to flick it left and right very simply. So you take this thing to a set of curvy roads, and it takes no energy to throw it left and right. And that also helps out when you're riding in traffic because it's very agile. You can just jump left and right and get around traffic with no problem. It's a very easy riding experience, and I think that's really helpful for somebody that's never ridden before because, you know, bigger bikes do take some energy to get going left and right. So it's really cool to start out on a bike this light because it just makes it a lot easier. You don't go ride and get exhausted, which definitely happens 100% of the time. And basically stopped, and we can get going because balance is legit. But yeah, guys, I love how lightweight this thing is. It's one of the really fun things about the lower CC bikes is they're not like toy light. Like, you can still tell something's underneath you, but throwing this thing over, it just takes nothing. All right, guys, next up on the pros list has got to be the approachability of this motorcycle. So I love this bike for the sole purpose that somebody, even a smaller or shorter rider with absolutely no experience, this bike would be absolutely perfect for that style of person. You've got a really comfortable body position you guys are seeing me in right now. I am slightly leaned forward, so it's kind of sporty. The seat's really comfortable. The seat height is low, so you can very easily touch the ground. If we get an opportunity here, I'll stop and show you guys. Legs are very bent. Of course, I need a red light, and I don't get one. But yeah, the bike has a really low seat height, and with that mix of power, like we were talking about a second ago, it makes this bike just super simple to just jump on and ride. There's not a lot of complicated modes or settings or anything like that, because a lot of those things, I feel like it can intimidate you if you're not used to stuff like that. So I love the, that's why I love the approachability of this thing. It's literally a, hey man, I just want like a lower CC thing. I want it to just go along. I don't want any complicated modes to make sure I'm in the right modes. I don't want it to be heavy, so when I sit on it, if it leans over too much, I'm worried. It's just an overall super approachable bike, and that has to be appreciated. Is this lady in the, oh, I thought that lady was in the road. Lord help. And guys, final thing I can hit on is the dash. For a bike of this class, to have a dash like that, colored and like all the settings you can do on there, it's actually really impressive for a bike like this. You don't see a lot of bikes that are in the 300-ish class with dashes that have that level of layout and information. CF Moto is kind of getting a name for themselves of putting really higher quality stuff on lower CC models than you would really expect. And it's a really cool thing, especially if this is your first bike. You kind of get spoiled. Now, while we're on curvy roads, I would like to transition into our negatives real quick. And the main negative I have for this bike overall is the suspension. Now, this suspension is very comfortable. If you're riding this bike in town, there's really no problems. But when you start to really push the suspension in curvier roads and you realize that, you know, that comfortable soft suspension is now making it hard to really push this motorcycle in a sporty way. So if you guys are brand new to suspension, you basically have hard and soft, and it can vary, and there's tons of things to talk about, and that's well beyond the scope of this video. But this suspension is very soft, and what that means is that it's very comfortable, but when you come to a stop, watch this. I don't know if you guys could tell on the camera or this camera, but when you stop, the suspension is so soft it dives a lot, and when you get to a stop, it then kind of comes back up. That is a big characteristic of a soft suspension. Well, one of the other characteristics of a soft suspension is that it's very comfortable. It soaks up the bumps. When you hit a bump, the suspension just kind of goes over the bump and it doesn't jar you as much. So that's on the extreme end, right? Very comfortable. Unfortunately, this suspension is so soft that I feel like it deprives the rider a little bit of feeling to the ground. So if you have a very hard suspension, the motorcycle is not comfortable to ride, especially on bumpy terrain. But the pro is you get a good feeling and connection between yourself and the ground, and you can really feel what your tires are doing. And that's very helpful if you want to really push the motorcycle. But this suspension is so soft that I can't really feel anything. I feel like there's some numbness between me and the ground. And as a rider that really likes to push things sometimes, you really need that connection to the ground to, I don't know, give yourself confidence that you can really take a turn or keep leaning the bike over. And that numb feeling doesn't allow me to really push this bike because I don't feel comfortable. The suspension, in my opinion, is probably the main negative of this entire motorcycle, which is really saying a lot. That this is a cop and I really think I might be speeding, but he didn't slow down and no lights. We're good. Okay, I have no idea what the speed limit is on this road. It's 35 and I'm going 55. Huh. Okay. Well, let's just watch this camera if we see blue lights coming up behind me. Anyway, guys, yeah, suspension is probably the main negative of this bike right now for me. And that is because I am a rider that does like riding a little too quickly, as we've already seen. And I do like going to the mountains. I would love to do a track day, but the suspension right now is that limiting factor. So the next thing on the negatives list I want to talk about is the rider triangle. If you guys don't know what the rider triangle is, that's basically the proportions of handlebar to seat to foot pegs. Makes a little triangle on the side of the bike. And that basically dictates how the rider is going to sit. And now, if I could adjust this bike a little more, I would up the seat. I would raise the seat up a little bit. And right now, my lower half is actually really comfortable, but my upper half wants to be comfortable to match my lower half, but my arms have to lean up a little more. So I'm not really sure what I would do, because obviously, as you guys can see, we have clip-ons here. It is a sport style bike. I would maybe either raise the bars up and make it even more comfortable up top, or I would raise the seat and put myself in a more aggressive riding position. The rider triangle on this bike makes me kind of confused. I kind of think that might be because CF Moto wanted to just make a general bike that would be good at a lot of different things, especially lower CC. A lot of riders that are in the lower CC area are kind of new to riding and they don't really know what type of riding they want to do. So they don't know if they want a comfortable riding position to tour on, or they want a more sporty position to do more aggressive riding in. So I think because of the nature of just making an average riding position, it kind of loses out on being good at any specific thing, if that makes sense. This is at least in my opinion, and this is not the only bike that does this. This is just, you know, one of the issues. Okay, so next up, let's talk about the lever, specifically the clutch. Now, both of these new levers have fixed a little bit of a problem that this bike has, and that is that the levers aren't very solid. They wiggle a little bit. As you guys can see, there's a little bit of wiggle in both of those levers. It used to be worse with the OEM levers, but I swapped these out for the upgrades, and that helped a decent amount. The only problem I have, really, I don't mind that kind of wiggle at this point. The only problem I now have is with the clutch side. When you engage the clutch, typically you will start feeling a resistance area, and then you can feel out where the friction zone is, which is where the clutch is going to engage with the motorcycle. I'm being very general, but you hopefully you guys understand. The feeling on the clutch lever of this bike is one of the lighter ones that I've ever had. There's not a ton of feel, and it makes it hard to be very precise when you're going at super low speeds or in traffic. Typically, if you have like a little more feeling behind the clutch, you can modify it a little bit because you've got that feeling. I don't get much feeling at all from this clutch, and I would really love to get more of that. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I don't know how you change that or update that, or I don't know anything about that. But I do wish there was a little more feeling there. That would be helpful. And I wish on the brake lever that I got a little more bite before it started actually engaging. Like right now, there's nobody behind me, right? I have to pull the brake lever in a decent chunk, as you guys could see, before I really got any braking started. So there's a long area of nothingness on that brake lever. I wish it would engage a little sooner. If I could have my way. And keep in mind, I've adjusted that lever out all the way, and there's still that kind of nothingness zone before it engages. Now, it's not a huge deal. Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about a $4,100, $4,200 motorcycle. So I am trying to keep that in mind, that this bike, it comes in at a incredibly affordable price point. So I'm trying to be like, how nitpicky am I being for a bike that's that affordable? And that's brand new. That's not even a used bike. So there's that. Now, from what I'm told and what I've read online, the 450SS has the same problem, but apparently it's very easy to fix. And if you guys look right here, we got our throttle, and our throttle wiggles back and forth. Now, I've seen some videos of guys adjusting the throttle free play with these little cables right here. I'm gonna be honest, I have not done that on this bike or my 450SS yet, but I do plan on doing it. I'll do an update video and let you guys know what I find after I adjust those and see if I can get that wiggle out. So it's currently present as the bike comes, but I think it might be something I can adjust out, which would be that would be really cool if I could do that. All right, guys, I'm pretty sure those are all the things that have really come to mind while I've been riding the 300SS a decent chunk lately, at least over the last month. Overall, what I will say about this bike is, for the price point, if you are brand new to riding and you're looking to get your first bike, I think this is a fantastic place to start. I think the power's gonna be good, you're gonna have a good time, and you get that full fun riding experience on this bike, and you do all of that without breaking the bank at all. So I love it for that. I love it for this entry level so people can get into riding quickly. Not quickly, but like early on. Now, I do want to note, if you maybe rode a lot in the past, or if you did a lot of dirt bike riding and you understand how to use a clutch and all that kind of stuff, for you guys, I might skip this bike and go to the 450 or 450SS, just because you're gonna have so much more bike to grow into than this bike. So if you're brand new, this is your thing. You're gonna have a great time. It's gonna be solid. As we've been making videos on these bikes, I've seen a lot of comments where people have had this bike for years and they say it's working great, they're having such a good time on it, and I love that, right? Because I can only ride so many bikes and I can only put so much time on these things, but when I see comments of people that have been able to spend more time than I have on these, and they're having a good time, it helps me like, okay, cool, everything that I'm feeling out is a thing. You know, it's not just my bike or not just me. So that being said, if you have a 300SS, we would love to hear your experiences in the comments down below. Jump down there, let us know how the bike's been for you. Everybody has different experiences, and I love collecting all of our information both in the video and in the comments section. So if you're looking into this motorcycle, check the comment section, and there might be some added value down there for you guys. But overall, guys, I've been really happy with this thing. I think whoever wins it from WBR Garage, the giveaway, is going to absolutely love it and have a fantastic time on it. And that's all I've got. If you guys made it to this point in the video, you are at the end, so thank you so much. That really helps us out here on the channel, and you're awesome. Make sure to like the video and put OC in your comment for the outro crew. And outro crew, let me know, did you start out on a 300 when you started riding, or are you going to? Or did you opt for a bigger motorcycle? You know, 450, 650, something like that. You guys let me know in the comments down below. And of course, you guys go out there and ride safe. I'm Chaseontwowheels. I appreciate you guys riding around with me. I'll see you on the next one. Later, guys.